Okay, we ready to go? Where's Mr. Turk?
Karen, I'm not sure, but I think everybody up here knows how to do that.
Good morning. Being 10 o'clock, at this time I call to order the Douglas County Board of County Commissioners meeting for September 1st, 2022. All 5 commissioners are present, and at this time I would ask Mr. Roy Conover, pastor of Life Point Church, to give us a invocation that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Danny Tarkanian. So I'd ask you to all rise at this time, and gentlemen, take your hats off if it's appropriate.
Our gracious and loving God, I thank you for the leaders assembled in this room and for all of us that call Douglas County our home. You have gifted us with an incredible landscape of beauty we get to enjoy throughout our surrounding community. I ask you to impart wisdom and clarity to each commissioner, county leader, and support staff as they make decisions today and into the future. Please give them eyes to see what may not be clear and ears to hear the questions they haven't considered yet. Thank you, God, for how you model humility and what it is to be a servant leader. You know the countless hours, the unseen accomplishments, the weariness, the sacrifice, the challenges, the discouragement, and the fatigue that our county personnel encounter. I ask you to encourage their hearts and give them endurance as they put the needs of others first. But most of all, I ask you to help us simply breathe you in. May we be still and know that you are God. May we be overwhelmed by your goodness. May we absorb every ounce of love you have for us. And as we rest in that place, may it motivate us to do more than we dare dream or imagine. Amen.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Conover. Appreciate your visiting with us today. Public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker unless additional time is granted by the board chairperson. The Board of Commissioners does use timing lights to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. When you begin to speak, you'll see a green light and a yellow light, which indicates that you have 30 seconds left and should conclude your comments. Once the light turns red, we ask you to please sit down. In addition to opening public comment will also be taken on administrative agenda items that are identified for possible action and closing public comment. So at this time, public comment will be taken on those items that are within the jurisdiction and control of the Board of County Commissioners. I would ask you to please, those of you in the audience, to please silence your electronic devices so that you don't interrupt other individuals. When you approach the microphone, please sign in, and we ask you to print your name so that we can have that properly into the record. State your name, and then your 3 minutes will begin. So at this time, public comment will be taken. Is there any public comment here in board chambers?
Good morning, Douglas County. Good morning, Board of Commissioners. Thank you for the prayer, the affirmations, the invocations. We're going to need as much help as we can get. Truth is love. Love is the law. Justice is blind.
I'm sorry, could you please state your name for the record, please?
Jason Gary. Justice is blind, and for that reason, we'd like to pull action items C, D, E, and G, or calendar consent items. Thank you. And before we get into all of that, the Burning Man celebration is in high gear in the northern desert of Nevada. There's a reason why people come from all over the world to express art culture. There's a reason why this is the most progressive gathering and social experiment on the planet at this time. Unbeknownst to Commissioner, to give you a context about the gathering, one of the reasons why it's so successful is because underneath it is more than just a party. It's time-based art. It's the World 13 Moon Calendar Change Peace Movement. These are the people, through international law and the right to self-determination, are creating a state within a state that will overgrow the commercialism and the war economy as we know it. This is precisely why your governor put the brakes on this state, because once it catalyzes and it happens, it'll happen all through. Was catalyzed by doctors Jose and Lloydine Arguelles. Dr. Arguelles, teaching at the UC Davis with his students, created a social experiment called the Whole Earth Festival. This was in 67, 68. The Whole Earth Festival was so successful that Earth Day was put on the map, and then shortly following the first Woodstock in 1969. The Whole Earth was the first National Rainbow Gathering of 1972, which happens every year for the last 50-some-odd years, where people gather to test themselves as to how they can live amongst each other without Federal Reserve notes, bartering, trading, taking care of the ecology, and essentially meditating on world peace on July 4th to give you all an alternative to the status quo. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment here in chambers?
Jim Slade, speaking as an individual. I'm sure that you're all aware of the dire water situation. Mandatory cutbacks are happening, and there are viable concerns about the water supply for Las Vegas as Lake Mead. However, affect much of the West. The worst hit states are New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, California, and Nevada. All those states have not only severe drought conditions, but also extreme and exceptional drought conditions, the highest level. Much of this, of course, is related to climate change. We don't have to look far to see this, with record temperatures forecast for Reno 5 of the next 6 days, with a prediction of the highest September temperature ever, 103, on Sunday. Along with greater wildfire risk, we see the effects here with higher snowfall levels, earlier melts, and the subsequent negative impact on both our surface and groundwater. Without drawing down our aquifer. While we wait for the updated USGS survey for our county water survey, it would be prudent to keep these negative trends in mind when new developments are proposed. The Carson Valley has more than twice as many water rights as it does wet water in our recharge. So having those rights is necessary, but not sufficient to approve large new projects. We already have several thousand homes in the pipeline. We need to see their effect on our water table before we put our most precious commodity future of our county, which is so important to our residents, is being further jeopardized each year with more cars, more traffic, more stoplights, more accidents. The quality of life of our citizens seems to be steadily declining. It has been shown that growth doesn't pay for itself. I understand that the county needs a new judicial and law enforcement center, but that is mainly due to the rampant residential growth in recent decades. The new JLEC building, including the land, is expected to cost nearly $50 million, or almost $1,000 for every man, woman, and child in this county. The county is also on the hook for a great many millions of dollars for Muller Parkway, which will never be a real bypass and will not lessen traffic on 395 through the towns. It will be worse, to the detriment of existing residents, most of whom do not want that much growth. I would urge the board to tighten up the growth management ordinance and require that all new development require a building permit allocation. Any added density approved by the board should require the transfer of development rights. Any further master plan amendments, especially those that create new receiving areas, should be discouraged, if not prohibited. It is time to look at what's best for our county in the long run and try to preserve our rural character and the quality of life that we all treasure before it's too late. Thank you.
Is there any additional public comment here in chambers? Please approach the microphone.
Good morning. My name is Lori Leonard, and I am part of the Leadership Douglas County this year. So it's a pleasure to be participating in that class for a full year, and also to be here today. So I'm seeing various familiar faces. I'm participating in the program because I work with the Nature Conservancy as the River Fork Ranch Preserve Manager just on the northern side of town. So my responsibilities pertain to the management of an 800-acre preserve open to the public. It's also managed as a working cattle operation. So it was nice to hear the previous gentleman's talk of the sort of preservation of the culture as well as the ecology of the area. Going into the future, as we're concerned with climate change and water availability, I too would like to echo the importance of protecting floodplains and would really encourage the commissioners into the future to look at protection of those floodplains specifically and encouraging folks to really support the concept of conservation easements to protect those areas as well. So I appreciate you listening, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I thought she did state her name for the record.
I did, and I'll say it again. Yeah, my name is Lori Leonard. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment here in chambers? Sensing none, Ms. Lockridge, is there any public comment online?
Paula Lockridge, for the record, there is no public comment online.
Very good. We'll bring it back to the board. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published. Yes, Mr. Ingalls.
In conjunction with the two last comments, we have an upcoming agenda item. Some of you may recall it was about a year ago that the USGS, Dr. Ramon Navarro, was here and he spoke about the nitrate buildups because of the problems with the septic tanks. Well, we've got an agenda item that the chairman has already told me that will be on the agenda for next meeting. So we've got to start looking at this and being serious along with our sewage, along with water and everything else, because the county it's just not sustainable to keep going like we're going. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ingalls. Commissioner Tarkanian, you had
Sure.
public
I
comment?
just wanted to again announce that I'm going to be having my Labor Day weekend barbecue, free barbecue to the public, open to anybody in Douglas County on Saturday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. at Minden Park. We're going to have a free barbecue, be drinks, bounce houses for the young kids, and snow cones. 1 to 4 Saturday at Minden Park.
Thank you. Okay, Since no other public comment, once again, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as published.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Tarkanian, seconded by Commissioner Ingalls to approve the agenda as published. Since no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Approval of previous minutes for possible action, discussion to approve the draft minutes of July 20, 2022, special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Entertain a motion to approve the previous minutes.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Noasad, seconded by Commissioner Rice to approve the draft minutes of July 20, 2022, special meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. Sensing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Consent calendar. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar, items A through K as presented. Motion by Commissioner Ingalls, seconded by Commissioner Rice to approve the consent calendar items A through K. Any discussion? Sensing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We'll move on now to the administrative calendar. Item number 1, for presentation only, ceremonial presentation of an employee service award to Rodney Ginocchio. Did I get that right? Ginocchio? For 20 continuous years of service to Douglas County, and I'll be joining Sheriff Dan Coverly at the microphone at the podium for that. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
I keep wanting to put a P instead of the G, but I'm sure you've heard that joke for your entire life, right?
A couple times.
Okay. Feel a pleasure when I go through these things on a monthly basis to, staff has me sign these, and so I noticed this, actually I signed it on June 10th. I'm surprised that it's taken this long to get it to you, but anyways, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to personally present you this certificate of appreciation for 20 continuous years of dedicated service to Douglas County, and give you a 20-year pin also. And we hope that maybe someday we can give you a 40-year pin.
All right.
Okay?
I doubt that.
Okay. So, and I'm sure that your sheriff, our sheriff, has a few words to say as well, and then we'll offer you the opportunity to say a few words as well. Do you have family here today, or?
My wife is here.
Your wife. Well, please bring her forward. Yes. Don't the family pays as much or more in this process. So we appreciate your 20 years of service to Douglas County also, and allowing you to have Deputy here, Ginocchio, to help us out and keep our community safe. So I know that you are concerned every time he goes to work on a daily basis. So anyways, we appreciate your service as well. So with that.
Thank you, sir.
And Sheriff Coverly?
So Rod is a unique employee. I've known him his entire career, worked with a lot with him over the years and stuff, but Rod wears many hats for the sheriff's office. He's one of our motor officers, he's a field training officer, but more than that, he's my go-to guy for every little project that we have. And so Rod orders all of our vehicles and makes sure that they're outfitted with all of the myriad of equipment that goes into them. He does a ton with the body-worn cameras. If something breaks, all the computers in the cars, he maintains and installs. And just with any kind of technology, it doesn't work all the time. And so every deputy, all 112 of us, have his phone number in our thing, and when something doesn't turn on or doesn't work right, Rod gets a call day or night, doesn't matter where he's at or what's going on, and he fixes it. He is an absolute workhorse. I think I'm a pretty hard worker, and I don't hold a candle to him. He makes me feel bad sometimes. He just does and does and does, and I have to thank his wife Tiffany for that. I know that she probably doesn't see Rod as much as she would like, and that's probably a lot my fault, so I apologize. But I'm very proud of you, Rod, and I'm glad that you are not only one of my deputies, but one of my good friends, and I don't know what I would do without you. So as long as I'm here, you're here. So if that makes 40, I don't know. That's just how it's going to be. So, but I can't say enough. I really, really, really appreciate you, and thanks for all you do.
I am not one for speeches or this kind of thing, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. So.
Always great when we can do that for our long-term or even short-term employees. We appreciate them all. Item number 2 for possible action. Discussion on the adoption of ordinance 2022-1603, a zoning text amendment reference DP 22-0145, amending section 20.703.090 use, subsection .080, public service of the Douglas County Code related to the Tahoe Area Plan regulations to make it clear that religious assemblies are authorized in the Lake Tahoe T-MU Tahoe Mixed Use Zoning District as a matter of right, and thereby eliminating the need for a special use permit. This is being presented by Deputy DA Sam Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners, members of the public. This particular item, I think, if you recall, came up in the context of a special use permit application was presented to the Planning Commission and the subsequent appeal to this board, and then the reconsideration of the matter by this board. And during the process of examining the special use permit, basically Douglas County planning staff took a look at the definition section in the special area plan for the Tahoe Basin and discovered that the definition of religious services and also membership organizations seemed to be tied in and consistent with each other. And it begged the question, why would a membership organization be permitted as a matter of right and religious service would not? And as a result of that, there was also additional discussion during the course of the Planning Commission meeting as well as before the board relative to the impact of RLUIPA and whether or not Douglas County may be subjected to a suit as a result of that. Fortunate for us, the board reconsidered its position on the subject and granted the special use permit, but notwithstanding that, we still have the same structural problem that existed previously, and we're still subject to a RLUIPA issue relative to this particular item. So it is being brought to this board for its consideration, and I would just like to note for the record that after the board approves it, it will need to go to TRPA for its approval. It's a lengthy process. We discovered that it will probably be approved, if the board approves it today, in around January of next year. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Commissioners, questions? Seeing no questions up here, we'll go to the only comment or a question I had, Mr. Taylor, is this went to the Planning Commission already. Is that right?
That is correct, and the Planning Commission did approve the special use permit initially.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
are you talking about this zoning text
This
amendment?
zoning.
Oh, yes, it did.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and this is the second read.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, okay. So we saw this a couple weeks ago before the second reading, yeah, as a presentation only item.
That is correct.
Okay, right. Okay, at this time, I would entertain public comment. Is there any public comment on item number 2 here in chambers?
James McCallum for the record. I hope and believe you will pass this.
Could you also please sign in, please?
I will sign for it.
Okay.
I think it's important, not only for what was considered before, which was a synagogue, but for any church that might want to change location or anybody that wants to establish a new church. I think it's important to get this on the record, and I hope you will pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comment here in public, in chambers? Sensing none, Ms. Lockridge, is there any public comment online?
Paula Lockridge for the record. No, we do not have any public comment on.
Additional comments, gentlemen? Sensing none? Oh, you have comment?
I do.
Okay.
I
Commissioner
find
Rice.
it interesting that one of our big complaints that we've had was that our governor closed our churches while leaving the brothels open. And I don't believe that stigma has left yet. I am so happy to see us in line with the Constitution and federal law. And why this happened to begin with is, who knows? But let's get it corrected. Let's get it corrected as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Sensing no other comments, I'll entertain a
Excuse me,
motion.
Mr. Chair. Paula Lockridge for the record.
Yes.
We do have somebody online now that does want to make public comment. Is that all right?
Pass that period? Huh? We can do it. Okay. Council tells me that, yes, we can allow that, so
All right.
we'll entertain that at this time.
Natalie, if you'd like to state your full name for the record, we will start your time.
I'm a trustee on the board of the Kingsbury General Improvement District. I know that this matter has been before you before. It's specific to one specific property. KGID has raised some concerns about the parking issues at the property, and especially on Market Street, which I believe is maintained by Douglas County. So NDOT, runs right through there with SR 207. And then Market Street connects to it. We already have some parking congestion issues there. So no matter what you decide today, it would be very helpful if Douglas County, perhaps staff or leadership could do some sort of more collaboration with the Kingsbury General Improvement District, because we currently do lease the facility that's in that building, as well as maintain the roads. And, we do understand the parking issues that Tahoe struggles with. And that's been our major concern that we've brought forth. The current use, there has been some large events where we get a lot of parking on Market Street that have been an invite.
Thank you, Ms. Yanish. Very good. So we're done now. Ms. Lockridge, is there anybody else who online wishes to offer public comment?
Paula Lockridge for the record, no further comment.
Okay, very good. Then we will bring it back to the board. Sensing no comments from the board, I would entertain a motion to approve ordinance 2022-1603.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve ordinance 2022-1603 based on the contents of the staff report, the presentation, and public comment.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Rice, seconded by Commissioner, was that Noasad? Okay. To adopt ordinance 2022-1603 as presented. Sensing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We'll move to item number 3 for possible action. Discussion on the adoption of ordinance 2022-1605, which amends ordinance 2022-1596, changing the effective date of the abolishing of the office of constable for the East Fork Township and the appointment of the Douglas County Sheriff as the ex officio constable for East Fork and Tahoe Townships from December 31st, 2022 to August 20th, 2022, making the effective date retroactive. This is being presented by Chief Deputy District Attorney Doug Ritchie.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the County Commission. This is Doug Ritchie with the Douglas County District Attorney's Office. As indicated in the agenda, this ordinance speeds up the abolition of the Office of the Constable and the appointment of the Sheriff as the ex officio constable for Douglas County. Ordinance 2022-1596 had originally planned to abolish the Office of the Constable December 31st, 2022. However, with the recent appointment of the Constable Paul Gilbert as the Justice of the Peace for the East Fork Township, it's necessary that the timeline be moved up. Therefore, this ordinance will change the abolition date for the Office of the Constable to effective August 20th, 2022, as well as the appointment of the Douglas County Sheriff as the ex officio constable for Douglas County as of that date. I'm available for any questions. The board has already authorized abolishing the Office of the Constable. This is just moving that date up.
Thank you. Commissioner Noasad?
Mr. Chairman.
Question?
Is the August 2022 date correct?
That is correct.
So we're behind the curve then. Am I right? So this is the way we have to have it worded in order for the actual action to take place.
Doug Ritchie with the District Attorney's Office. That's correct. This is retroactively making this effective.
Commissioners, any other questions, comments? So this is required because, Mr. Ritchie, this is required because Mr. Gilbert tendered his resignation as of that date in order to assume the role of East Fork Justice of the Peace. So that's why we have to move this up, because an elected official or an official of that nature cannot hold two offices concurrently. Is that correct?
Yes, Doug Ritchie with the District Attorney's Office. That is correct.
And then the question then to Sheriff Coverly, you're comfortable with taking on that role prior to January 1st? Or yes?
Yes, this is an easy transition for us. Nothing will change as far as the constable's responsibility for both justice courts, and then once after the first of the year, then they will just be sworn in as deputy sheriffs as opposed to deputy constable.
Thank you. Okay. Sensing no other comments from the board at this time, we'll go to, this is a possible action item, so we'll go to the public for public comment. Is there anybody here in chambers who wishes to offer public comment on this item? Sensing none, at this time, Ms. Lockridge, is there any public comment online?
Paula Lockridge, for the record, no, there is none online.
Very good. We'll bring it back to the board. Any additional questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we
Rice.
adopt ordinance 2022-1605 as presented with an effective date of August 20th, 2022.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Rice, seconded by Commissioner Ingalls to approve or adopt ordinance 2022-1605, which amends the ordinance 2022-1596, changing the effective date of abolishing of the office of constable for the East Fork Township and appointment of the Douglas County Sheriff as the ex officio constable for the East Fork and Tahoe Townships from December 31st, 2022 to August 2022, August 20, 2022, and making the effective date retroactive. Sensing no further questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. We'll now go to item number 4 for possible action, discussion to approve the submission of a bill draft request to the Nevada Legislature for the 2023 legislative session to change NRS 62B.150 concerning China Spring Youth Camp. The formula for county assessments would change from the current formula based on student population to a new formula based 50% on student population and 50% on historic utilization. Commissioners to adopt an ordinance for the governance of the camp that encourages participation amongst the counties. This is being presented by County Manager Patrick Cates.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This build-out draft request is at the request of the NACO Working Group for China Spring. You've had lots of updates on that working group. It was formed under the leadership of NACO to work on China Spring issues coming out of the Nevada legislature. It was part of an agreement that we had with legislative leadership. I'm happy to report that the working group continues to meet and has made significant progress on a lot of different issues. One of the goals was to look at the formula and statute for how counties are assessed for the camp. Currently, China Spring, they have multiple funding sources, but primarily their funding comes from appropriations from the state, as well as assessments on counties. And as you described in your introduction, current statute, that formula is based on student population. The working group felt strongly that so we looked at formulas that used bed days, historic bed days, as a way to calculate those assessments. So some counties have not had kids in camp for multiple years. So we didn't want to base it fully on utilization, because that meant for multiple years some counties would be paying nothing. And everybody felt strongly that every county needed buy-in. This is every county in the state except for Clark County. They're the only ones that don't participate. They have their own program. So we split the difference. So half of the formula is based on student population, half would be based on these assessments. In addition, there was a lot of discussion about governance. That was one of the items that the working group was tasked with, how the other counties participate in the governance of the camp. And we had some back and forth. There were some counties who wanted interlocal agreements, and we had a breakout meeting with NACO leadership of a subgroup of the working group, and we came up with the language that you see here, which basically just encourages the county commission to have an ordinance on governance that encourages participation without specifying what that looks like. There is a current ordinance that describes the advisory board for or what they call an advisory council for China Spring. I do have some draft language that the working group has approved, and we'll be bringing that forward at a future meeting to adopt that ordinance to change the governance. So what this does is change statute. If you approve this today, it will be submitted to the Legislative Council Bureau of the Nevada Legislature. They will draft it into a formal bill draft request. And when legislative session comes, we will be sponsoring that bill and testifying on its behalf. Happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Tarkanian?
I know we talked about this once before, and your proposal made sense. Now, but I'm listening now, and I'm not quite so sure. With respect to the charging of people based over a period of time as opposed to the actual bed use that year, can you explain that a little bit better?
Sure. Let's see. I think probably the best way to describe that would be on page 261 of your packet. We've got the calculations laid out. And so because we have to set a an amount going forward as part of the state budget process, we would go back to prior years and look at what the utilization was by bed day by county. And so in this case, in this example, we're looking at FY19, combining those together to get total bed days. And them. So in this formula, half of the rate is being calculated on student population, half on those historic bed days. So it'd always be a look back on prior years to calculate the rate for the future coming up biennium. It does change the impact to Douglas County. We utilize it proportionally, probably more than some other counties. So it would mean there'd be some increased cost to the county. In this example, it's over $82,000 per year. It depends on which county. Some would go down, some would go up, and that would fluctuate from year to year.
No, I understand the reason to use bed days along with the student population. I guess my question.
For the record, Patrick Cates, we are trying to use the most recent complete year, but we're using 2 years because the state budget process is a 2-year budget cycle. And so we wanted to set it based on 2 years so that every time they set it every 2 years, it's using that historic data.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ingalls.
Mr. Case, what was your sense of the other counties contributing to China Spring? Some of these counties that didn't have any kids there currently, they probably don't want to pay anything, but yet the facility has to be maintained. So if you could kind of give us a sense of what you noticed from the other counties. Thank you.
For the record, Patrick Cates, I think there was some concern expressed by those counties that aren't using the camp very much about being assessed. However, I think even my sense is the consensus of the group was that they were okay with this formula. It actually would save those counties that aren't using it very much some money, since it would be based on utilization. Their assessments would go down. And I'm trying to recall, I can't remember which county. I don't want to state the wrong county, but I remember one of the counties that was a low utilization agreed that there should be some minimal assessment so that the camp can be maintained and be there. So I felt like we had pretty good consensus from all the participants of the group with this method going forward.
Additional comments, questions? So, Mr. Cates, once again, and we've talked about this before, but I certainly appreciate your participation in this. We designed this working group almost about a year and a half ago, right? I mean, close to it, while the legislature was in session, the last session in 2021, when they were going through the process of trying to determine the cutbacks by the state. So once again, I appreciate your participation in this and working with the other counties. This is going to be, as I understand it, in hearing what you said, a Douglas County sponsored VDR versus a NACO sponsored VDR. Is that correct?
For the record, Patrick Cates, that is correct. In statute, counties can submit a certain number of bills. We're a rural county, so we can submit one bill per session. In discussions with NACO, they already had a bill list of bills that they want to propose, and I agreed that it made sense for Douglas County to carry this bill.
I assume, though, that they're going to be signing on to this and heavily lobbying for this as well, right?
For the record, Patrick Cates, yeah, I believe so, and I'm asking multiple counties to lobby on behalf of this bill. You bet.
Thank you. Okay, I have no further questions. At this time, this is an action item, so I'll entertain public comment here in chambers. Any public comment here in chambers? Sensing none, then Ms. Rockridge, do we have any public comment online?
Paula Lockridge, for the record, there is no public comment online at this time.
Very good. We'll bring it back to the board then. If there's no further comment, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the bill draft request for submission to the Legislative Council Bureau as presented.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Rice, seconded by Commissioner Ingalls to approve the submission of the bill draft request to the Nevada Legislature for the 2023 legislative session to change NRS 62B.150 concerning the China Spring Youth Camp funding formula as presented. Sensing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Cates, for bringing this forward.
Commissioner Wright? You have to make all the motions when you come back.
Wow, I guess Nashville hasn't caught up with me yet. Okay, item number 5.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to present the debt management meeting.
Well, we're in, oh, okay, yes, excuse me, you're right. Commissioner Noah said, we're reports and updates from county commission members concerning the various boards and/or commissions that they may be a member of or a liaison to, or meeting functions they have attended. So at this time, I'll entertain that.
Let me apologize for jumping the gun. But in line with the Debt Management Committee's performance, our last meeting was 10 minutes. The record, however, is when we were on Afterburner and we get it in 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Tarkanian, anything to report? Nothing about Tark in the Park? Oh, that's
Yes, we're
public
gonna
comment. That's public comment. I'm sorry. Okay. Commissioner Ingalls? Commissioner Rice?
Nothing.
Seriously. Okay. Anyways, and I have nothing to report at this meeting. So that will conclude presentation only. And we'll go into closing public comment. So at this time, public comment will be taken on those items that are within the jurisdiction and control of the Board of Commissioners or those agenda items where public comment has not already been taken. This time I'll entertain public comment here in chambers. Any public comment here in chambers? No, sir, we did not pull any of those items. You can comment on those items if you wish to, yes.
Jason Garrett, on behalf of the Citizens Coalition for Justice here in Douglas County. We're going to start, I guess we get 3 minutes per action or per item, right?
No, sir, you get 3 minutes total for all your public comments
For all
at
of
this
these,
time.
huh? Well, that's a
Yes.
little different here this morning, fellows. First of all, Commissioner Gardner keeps claiming that my numbers are off, but I see here that we want 4 new sport trucks for $280,000. These are the same sport trucks that are being aced out by the Fed, who intends to migrate all combustion engines to solar by 2030, yet we're still buying $70,000 trucks in a county where 2 out of 3 cars are fancy trucks that have no utility. It's law enforcement that drives the culture. These are status symbols, okay? The hourly rate and the hourly wage. I participated in the golf tournament this weekend and had a chance to hang out and talk with these guys about how we could improve the organizational principle. And they all agree that the country's going to hell in a handbasket, but the answer is not building more facilities and arming law enforcement with shotguns in our schools and militarizing law enforcement. The answer is in how we extract the best out of each and every one of us and how we choose to either be employed or be professional. When people are on the clock, time is money. The biggest complaint they have is not having enough time or money. That is an ordering principle that is not only unlawful and not sustainable, but we can no longer do the corporate charter, the 1260 artificial timing frequency any longer. So put these folks on salary and give them a chance to go out into the schools with the law of time and teach what real law is about, and give them the peace plan so they can go out and have something positive to talk about as a peace officer, and an action plan with a new time economy where time is art. Get them out of their cars. Let them walk the streets. Get on an electric bike. Volunteer in a different sector of the economy. Flip burgers one day a week and see how that goes. But get out of the monotony of who you think you are in your job description. Pay them the same wage and rotate these people so they can see what's going on in the bigger picture, and then compensate them for efficiency, because it's in their nature to do a bigger, better job. And when you're on the clock nowadays, it's keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, and do what you're told. You're not inspired.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gibson. Is there any additional public comment here in chambers? Sensing none, Ms. Lockridge, is there any public comment online?
Paula Lockridge, for the record. No, there is not, sir.
Very good. Bring it back to the board. Is there any additional public comment from the board? I do want to mention that I have started a series of coffee and conversation on the first Fridays of every month, and so I'll be doing that tomorrow morning at a local coffee shop. So I welcome your attendance there if you wish to come by and have a cup of coffee and converse.
Where's it at, Commissioner? You said a local
At
coffee shop. There's a lot.
DST Coffee. DST Coffee.
Time?
At 8 o'clock. Okay. AM? Okay, so anyways, with that, I will call this meeting adjourned. Very good, thank you.